So we finally headed into the grand finale of the IndyCar schedule as we headed into the last race of the season at the Nashville Superspeedway for the Nashville Grand Prix. Well, once the streets of Nashville is now heading back to the oval for the first time that IndyCar has ended on an oval in over, I believe, 10 years. The last winner of that race was Scott Dixon, so it was a long time since we have seen the IndyCars on track at the Nashville Superspeedway. And we went green at the streets of Nashville as Kyle Kirkwood set our pace, as Joseph Newgarden was really looking behind and really trying to snag that first position early as they went too wide early, and we saw a lot of too wide early as multiple lanes opened up early, which is really good to see. It was kind of a question of, was this going to end up more like an Iowa race, or could we see multiple lanes open up like we saw at a Nashville? But instead, this being on a super speedway, so you have more of an opportunity to pass and a lot more space. So it was pretty good early. I felt like we saw a lot of competitive action between drivers and a lot of risks being had. Kyle Kirkwood and Joseph Newgarden having that battle up front, we looked kind of behind that pack to see who could possibly also move themselves up into that possible thought for a race win today. Will Power was trying to push pace early to try and move up in the field, as David Malukas and Felix Rosenqvist as well for Meyer Shank were moving up in the field, and David was looking for a first win on the season for him as well, who was looking very strong early into this race and was looking like a big contender, with Pat O'Ward also behind and Colton Herta also chasing up in the field, which was the story of the day as he just moved up and up. And speaking of people kind of picking up positions early, Alex Palou was moving up very early in this race. So not really causing a problem for him starting in the back of the field. He was able to make up positions really early, move up into that top 15, with Scott McLaughlin as well moving up into that top 10 really early in the race. You gotta feel early for who the possible contenders were going to be in this race, as Colton Herta looked really strong early. Kyle Kirkwood was pushing in the top of the field, with Joseph Newgarden looking really strong behind him, as he was really eager for a win after a disaster at Milwaukee. And also, you couldn't count out Pat O'Ward, who looked really strong as well, running on a separate strategy from some of the other drivers, so he was able to go on a little longer, especially at the end. Was really looking determined for a race win today, so it was really good to see as we saw kind of a multitude of different strategies out to play, and we saw a lot of eager drivers, so it wasn't just this kind of fall because everyone knew that the chase for the championship was over. Everyone was really eager for a win today, which was good to see. Speaking of our championship hunt, it was officially over as Will Power mysteriously enters the pits, and what else is it but a seatbelt issue, something that we have not seen in IndyCar in such a long time. It was a seatbelt issue that ended Will Power's championship hopes. So, round of applause, please. We had a pretty good battle as Colton Herta and David Malukas were battling for that second position, weaving through lap traffic and having a pretty good battle with each other, as Colton Herta able to make the jump in the second, really looking for that first position as he was just pushing through lap traffic, chasing after Pat O'Ward. And because the strategy's not really working out, Kyle Kirkwood and David Malukas would both have to pit, unfortunately, ending their chance for looking for a win on the day. But Pat O'Ward was able to take the first position and Colton Herta in second as we had 8 to go. Pat O'Ward on a different strategy was able to stay out, but he was going to have the more worn tires as Colton Herta with the fresher Firestone tires was chasing behind in second, weaving through the lap traffic as we just saw this battle as he just got closer and closer. And then with 5 to go, Colton Herta is able to get the jump on Pat O'Ward and able to basically run away with it as he weaves through lap traffic, building a little bit of a pace and able to pick up the first oval win in his career, which was just a tremendous weekend and a tremendous day. Such a hard-fought victory for Colton Herta, who had struggled this season, coming in second position multiple times on the ovals and in other races this season, finally able to snag that first big oval win and tick that box off finally. And finishing in 11th position, Alex Palou, and he wins his third IndyCar championship in only 5 years. Absolute insanity. An insane year for Alex Palou. The man is just consistent as hell. He may not win every single race, but he is going to be up there. He's going to be fighting. He is competitive. He is smart. Great strategy. Great team. They just know how to put it together over there. I don't know how to explain it. They just know how to put it together. Such a fantastic driver who had such a fantastic year. such a good day overall. And also wanting to point out Pato O'Ward finishing in second and Joseph Newgarden wrapping off the podium in third. Really strong day for those two, especially for Joseph, who, being from Nashville, wanted to win this race, wanted to put down a strong day. Can't be disappointed with third. And just a very good day overall. I feel like that brought a lot of competitive action. I thought you kind of got what you wanted to see with IndyCar in this race. You saw multiple lanes opening up. You saw different strategies. You didn't see drivers just relying on sitting in a single line, fuel saving the entire race. So I thought it was a pretty good day, and one that I'm going to really enjoy seeing going forward. I feel like ending at an oval is the right thing for IndyCar. Some driver shoutouts from the day as well. Kyle Kirkwood, 4th position, started in pole. I know he really wanted that win, but I mean, for some of the weeks that he's had and some of the unluckiness for his season, pretty good finish for him. Scott McLaughlin also able to jump up from 18th to 5th. So pretty good day for him. Santino Ferrucci, also another top 10. I mean, that man's just consistent as hell on ovals, especially the Superspeedways. Marcus Armstrong able to put his name up there. Linus Lundqvist, pretty strong day for him. David Malukas, another top 10, finishing out his season for Myers Shank. It's going to be really interesting next year seeing him go into AJ Foyt and the success that he could have. Connor Daly, top 10 for him. Really, really good end of the season for Connor Daly and for the Juncos Hollinger team. Getting that car into the winner's circle, just a really good job by that team. Alex Palou, of course, finished out in 11th and picked up another championship. Rinus VeeKay in 12th. Jack Harvey in 13th. Christian Rasmussen in 14th. Alexander Rossi was looking pretty strong early, but just a different strategy. Dropped him in 15th. Romain Grosjean in 16th. Scott Dixon in 17th. Nolan Siegel in 18th, Christian Lugard in 19th, Stingray Robb in 20th, which will probably be the last we see of Stingray Robb in IndyCar, I would assume. Pietro Fittipaldi in 21st, Kiffin Simpson in 22nd, Graham Rahal in 23rd, Will Power unfortunately ending his day in 24th and dropping in the championship standings to 4th, Marcus Ericsson in 25th, Catherine Legg in 26th, and Felix Rosenquist in 27th. And going over the final championship standings of the season, Alex Palou, of course, is your 2024 IndyCar champion, with Colton Herta able to move up to second, able to jump Will Power and Scott McLaughlin. A very good season for him overall, and he is going to be putting his name in next year for a possible championship in 2025. And Scott McLaughlin also possibly looking for a first championship next year, as he looked really strong this season. Both of those drivers were able to snag up their first oval win, so finally able to tick that box off. I feel like those two next year are going to be the ones to look at, as they are really putting it together on the ovals, and they've always been really consistent on road and street courses. Will Power unfortunately drops to 4th place, which does suck for him. A really strong season overall, but possibly able to put together one final run last year, or possibly one last dance, if you will, next year. Be interesting to see. And Pato O'Ward finishing in 5th. Really strong season for him. Had some unlucky moments this season, but also another driver to look at, as he's been really getting it done on the ovals this season, especially next year. I feel like he is going to be a strong pick for the Indy 500 next year. But could he possibly put it together for a championship? That'll be interesting to see. There's going to be a lot of really good, strong drivers for next year, possibly putting their fight in for this championship. So early in his career, Alex Palou is looking really dominant, but it's going to be interesting to see going forward what this fight is going to look like. The thing Alex Palou needs to do is the thing that we've unfortunately said about other drivers that is going to be mainly looked upon him now. He needs to get that first big oval win. Colton Herta has gotten it, Scott McLaughlin has gotten it, so those two were able to check that box off. Everyone now is really going to be looking at Alex Palou next season every time we go to an oval. Is he going to get that first oval win? Also, the last race that IndyCar is doing with NBC, a final send-off, and what was, I thought was a very beautiful package at the end that NBC produced for its final race for IndyCar. A very good tenure as IndyCar moves over to Fox next year. Personally, I really enjoyed IndyCar's time on NBC. I know that people have issues with it in terms of, especially I will agree, in terms of getting it onto a national scale and getting those races on primetime NBC, getting those races out there instead of putting them on USA or Peacock. But having the races be a cheap option for fans on Peacock, having all that access to practice and qualifying, it was so good for not only just casual fans, I felt like, but for the fans that love the sport to really deep dive into it and get all that information. And it's just going to be interesting next year seeing how Fox presents it after I feel like NBC did a decent job in terms of presenting the IndyCar product. And just like that, the 2024 IndyCar season is over. One that I really enjoyed, and I'm going to be really sad to see go as we have a long break until next year in March for St. Pete. So it's going to be sad to see it go, especially having nothing to really talk about in terms of current IndyCar racing for a while. But I'm going to be trying to talk about any news that goes on, do some fun little events and historic races to possibly review. It's been really fun doing this series and going into it. And going into next year, possibly going to have a few ideas for doing it differently. So going to tweak with a few things and have some fun with that. So I can't wait for 2025. Let me know any thoughts you guys have down below. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you for the race review for St. Pete next year. Have a good one.